Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Our guest today is Laura Steward. Laura operates from the simple philosophy, treat people better than they expect to be treated. And it is from this belief that she was able to carve her niche and stand out in a highly competitive IT field, building Guardian Angel Computer Services from a sole employee business into the leading multi-state provider of managed technical services. Living an amazing life happens when you ask the right questions. And Laura Steward intuitively knows the right questions to ask. From the wisdom that she learned at her mother's side to the insight that she gained baking pies with her grandmother, Laura has developed the innate ability to ask the questions that propel business leaders and entrepreneurs to incredible achievements. Laura is a sought-after speaker, author, and business advisor and radio host. Hi, Laura, and welcome to the show.
Hello, my friends. So excited to be here. I love your show. It is just so inspiring and helpful in so many ways.
Well, I am so excited to have you here. And I was trying to think, our friendship goes back like 7 years, 8 years.
It's got to be at least that, if not more.
Yeah, I think we knew each other like via phone and that kind of stuff. And then we met in person, right?
Yes, we did. And I was trying to remember, did we meet at Author 101 or did we meet at Wendy Lipton Dibner's event?
It was Wendy Lipton Dibner's event. And I'm wondering if it was the one that was in Orlando. Because I don't know that you ever came out to, did you ever go to any of hers in Connecticut?
I did. I used to live in Connecticut. And
okay.
I actually know exactly where Wendy and Hal live, and I used to help out at their event in Connecticut.
Then I think that that's where I met you the first time, maybe was in Connecticut, and then we reconnected at several of her events in Florida.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, well, and I'm so grateful to know you, and you've got such amazing insight, and I loved that you were able to do this today, and I love that your topic is on questions, because, you know, one of the things that I did after I got out from behind the chair was to hire a life coach, because I thought, you know, this is a whole new world. And it was somebody that I wanted to sit down with face to face and kind of have me talk through these challenges. And, you know, Mike's, the last 18 months of his life were just really kind of tough with the hospital stays and that kind of thing. And I would always ask the question, why? And my life coach would say to me, you know, that doesn't really get you anywhere. You need to ask a different question. And so the question we came up with is, what am I supposed to learn from this? And that was so impactful to me. I'm so excited to have you on this episode where that's what you talk about, is it's really all about the questions. And I love that.
It really is. And I admire your life coach for telling you that a question you're asking may not be the right question in that moment. Mm-hmm. Because so often we just keep asking the same question over and over again because we're not getting the answer we want.
Right. That's right. And so therefore you think that if you ask that same question, you're going to get a different answer, but you're not. And so I found that for me, when I would ask that question, what am I supposed to learn from this? I saw the lessons in those situations that we were in because of the question that I was asking.
Yeah, you opened yourself up to the possibility that there's an answer you need that you couldn't see before.
That's right.
When I wrote my book, What Would a Wise Woman Do? The title of the book came from this idea from a seminar I had taken that if you can't figure out an answer, if you don't know how to move forward, if you don't even know which direction you should take, ask yourself, what would someone wiser than me do in this situation? Picture somebody, whether it's a family member, it's somebody you've never met, but you've always considered wise. What would a wise woman do, a wise man do? What would this person do in this situation? And all of a sudden, it gives you the freedom to look at another way of thinking at things, or to be open to the fact that I just don't know what to ask.
That's right. And that, and that's amazing, because when you sit down and you open yourself to the fact that I don't have the answer, but the answer is out there. Right. And I think that that's where sometimes people put themselves in a box. Well, it can't ever be done. There is no answer to this. There's no right way to do this. When you ask that question and position it in a way that you open yourself up to all of those possibilities that are there, you find a solution much quicker.
When I had my tech services company and I'd first started it and I was thinking about, what do I do? I was talking to my parents saying, oh, I'm leaving my corporate job, which I had had for like 8.5 years, and I'm going to start my own business. Now, my dad was an entrepreneur and he had worked for others and then worked for himself for many years. And my mom had had a successful career before she decided to have a family. And they were adamantly against it, which I never expected, Kim.
That funny?
And it really is, because they were always my biggest supporters in the world. They were like, okay, whatever you want to do. But for some reason, this move that I was going to make was really, really freaking them out. And I didn't understand why. And I was beginning to question my decision, because they're like, how can you leave a secure job that you have with benefits and all this other stuff, And a friend of mine, when I was telling her this, she just looked at me and she goes, well, what do you think is, from your parents' perspective, where they came from that is building up their fear? And it hit me that my parents were born of the Depression era, where you didn't give up a cushy job unless you knew what you were stepping into. And, my dad had ups and downs when he left working for somebody else and started his own construction company, and some bad things happened and good things happened. And they were so fearful for me that at such a young age, that I may end up failing, and they just want me to fail. So because of that one question, I started asking, okay, so what are their biggest concerns? Money, that I won't have enough money for an emergency. And I went, okay, well, I've got a year's pay coming, 6 months pay and a year's medical benefits. So if some crisis happens medically, I'm covered. And I've got 6 months pay that I can save while I'm keeping it up. And I went down this list of this other set of questions that said, is this an important question for me or not? And at the end of it, I was able to talk to my parents, explain, okay, I understand your fears. Here's what I know. And they're like, okay. And 15 years later, I sold my business.
Wow. That's amazing. But you're right. I think that a lot of it is when people question you, or they're not a big fan of yours, it's because they're fearful, or it's because, like what you discovered, right? They were part of the Depression era and they would never step out and do what you were trying to do. And so because of that, they kind of wanted to keep you in a box. But because you were asking the right questions, you were able to show them, hey, look, I'm going to be okay. This is going to be all right.
And I also had somebody that I trusted, that I could speak to, that had knowledge and wisdom and cared enough about me to ask hard questions from outside my perspective of what I knew.
So
are you a Harry Potter fan?
My son has watched the movies. I've dabbled in it a little bit, but not huge. But tell me what you've got. Okay, so with Harry Potter, in the movies and in the books, the characters that are in the pictures on the walls, the painting, photographs, they can move from frame to frame. So they can go visit other people. They can go like across the hallway and look back at their picture that they came out of. And that's such a huge thing that if we could do that, Kim, if we can step outside our own frame. Amen.
And look in at our lives, at our business, at our situation. It's hard to step out, but if you have somebody that can help you, like you did with your life coach, it enables you to see so many things that when you're right in the middle of it, when you're inside your own frame, you can't see.
There's a saying that I say often, and my team gets tired of hearing me say it, but it's, you can't read the label from inside the jar.
Absolutely.
You're so inside and you look at things, your perspective is so different coming from the inside as having somebody else on the outside being able to look on the inside. So the whole picture frame thing that's huge. That's such a huge way to be able to look at that, because that's so true. If you could step outside the picture and look back at the frame, it would look completely different.
And I love the analogy of the label inside the jar. I never thought of that one. So thank you. Yet another perspective.
Woohoo! All right. So in your book, you talk about sometimes moving forward means having to let go of something versus adding something. What does that mean?
Well, all right. Think of it as your life, and you want to move forward. And what's one of the first things that you start writing a list of? Is it things that you need to let go of, or things that you want to add into your life in order to make that next thing happen?
Sometimes it's more adding in. I hardly ever let go of things. I just keep adding to it. My to-do list gets so long, so it isn't about letting go. I normally add to.
But yet, letting go often frees us up to move forward. An example would be letting go a way of thinking, or letting go people in your life that are holding you back, the people that are the naysayers, the negative talkers, the ones always trying to, as a quote from Dirty Dancing, put baby in a corner.
Yes.
Telling you that there's no way you could ever do that, keeping you small. And I've seen over the course of my life that in order to let go, I have to move forward. One of the biggest examples I can give of this is I was in a crisis with my business. I forget what year it was. And I had staff and things just weren't working out. I mean, I just couldn't seem to move forward. And I had let somebody go, and then another person quit.
Oh my.
And I was happy that the person quit. I hated the fact I had to let somebody go, but they were doing some things that were jeopardizing the business in my estimation. And as a business owner, I'm the one who has to make that call. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting on the floor of my office crying because I had weeks and weeks worth of projects that I had to get done. And I was the only engineer left in the company to do all the implementations. But I froze. And then I went, now what do I do? And all of a sudden, I realized, call a couple of friends to see if they're available to help you or just give you some advice. Next thing I know, they had called other friends, and some of my competitors had reached out because we talk at events and stuff like that. And they said, transfer your phone calls to us. We'll answer a specific line saying, Guardian Angel Computer Services, so we can handle any new calls that come in, and they'll never know that it's not you. And I had friends offer to fly in and help me cover things. And in an hour, I realized I had a support system.
Wow.
And that I wasn't alone. And then customers, when I called them to say that these employees were no longer with, they said to me, oh, we've been wanting to tell you something, but, we didn't want to, get you upset or anything, but we haven't been happy with this person or with that person. They've been saying some things and they're really just not doing a good job. So letting go enabled my business to then hit 7 figures.
Wow. And that's not normally what we look at. Like for me, it would be, no, I got to keep adding. I got to keep moving. I can't let anything go. I got to hang on to everything and then continue to add. And that's the way that we'll grow. But you're right. That's exactly right. And when you let go, then it makes room for new things, which that's part of evolution.
Right. And in the case of when everything was going on with your incredible husband, when your coach said to you, what can I learn from this? You let go the why. It no longer mattered because you weren't